What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new series here on the channel called Primarch Purpose. This is going to be the intro overview ramble. So what is this all about? We know the Primarchs, right? We know, if you know the Horus Heresy time period, the Great Crusade time period, if you're a fan of that era in the 40k timeline, you are well acquainted with the Primarchs, especially now. As time goes on and more stuff comes out for this time period, we get more and more imagery, fluff, you know, even rules and models and such for these Primarchs, and it's really cool. It's a cool time because we went from having just little blurbs and name understandings, and that's about it, to having a really well fleshed out backstory for pretty much all the Primarchs that's only going to get better and better. So that's really cool. However, that's not what I'm referring to with Primarch Purpose, right? We know them as the demigods of battle and leaders of the legions, but the ultimate goal of the Primarchs, insofar as the Primarch project, really does go beyond that. The Primarchs are a heavy investment for the Emperor, literally using his own gene structure to create his own sons, basically genetically engineer his sons, the Primarchs. And he doesn't just make mini clones of himself, does he? He alters their gene structure and modifies them to create purpose-built Primarchs, you could say. And there's a reason for that. We never really truly learned that reason, however, for twofold. When the Primarch lore first came out, they probably didn't think about that because the established lore of 40k is the whole Horus Heresy happens and the Primarchs get split in a schism and some die off and others go to chaos and then the rest go missing. So we don't really get to see the ultimate purpose that the Primarchs were created for because of the heresy. So what we do get is some scant fluff here and there, some mentionings of the Primarch project here and there that kind of tease us into thinking, what would their purpose be? And there's 2 to 3 Primarchs, perhaps at most, in which their purpose has kind of almost been told to us directly via stories in the Horus Heresy series. But even those, it's a heavy implication, and they'll still be fun to talk about nonetheless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at each Legion's Primarch individually in their own video. The playlist is going to have it in Legion numerical order, but I'm going to release these videos in the opposite of Legion numerical order. I'm going to go backwards. So I'm going to start at the first video I'm going to do for the Legions would be the last Legion, and the very last video I do for the Legions specifically is going to be the first Legion. It'll make sense. I'm just doing it to switch things up. So with that said, the goal of this ramble is to just look at what we know about the Primarchs and their legions, because the legions are a reflection of the Primarchs, and extrapolate, even using chaos information in the standard 40k timeline to help extrapolate things as well, what the endgame ultimate purpose, the truth behind the Primarchs creation really is in the eyes of what the Emperor created. To do this, we got to go into what if territory, right? Because the actual timeline of 40k is not conducive for this thought process because, like I mentioned, we never get there. The heresy kind of happens, right? So for this what if, or not so much for this what if to work, but for this series to work, we got to go into what if territory and just have fun and go off the rails. Going into this territory means we don't have to worry about stepping on established lore and everything, such as the heresy, chaos legions, and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the framework that we are assuming to be the case for this series in this intro overview, and I'll briefly summarize it in the intros for every video for the legions. But we are assuming some things here. Firstly, all the legions are going to remain loyal. Secondly, the Emperor is still alive and well, as are all of his Primarchs that we know, not counting the lost legions. Thirdly, right? Yeah, that's third, right? The heresy never happens and the Great Crusade comes to a successful close. And I guess by that extension, fourthly, the Imperium we have is a very different Imperium in the official 40k timeline. This one's ruled by the Imperial Truth and Reason, not an ecclesiarchy, divine emperor mindset. So what that also means is there is no ecclesiarchy, and by extension, there wouldn't be, Sisters of Battle later on and so forth because of it. That's okay. We're not making a whole new game here. We're just looking at the Primarch purpose, and for that, some things happen like this. The Inquisition, as we know it, isn't really going to exist either. That came about during the fires of the heresy. I'm not saying there wouldn't be any type of Inquisition-style group, but as we know it, it doesn't exist. So, from that, we also have to understand that Xenos and Chaos is still a threat. Just because the Great Crusade came to a successful close doesn't mean every single planet is a human population, everything's in nice harmony with the Imperium. Not at all. There's going to be plenty of strife, plenty of insurrectionist thoughts, plenty of planets that were just inaccessible due to, weird celestial phenomena that are accessible now, whatever, with their own human populations, maybe enthralled to chaos or just not wanting to join. So you're going to have chaos level insurrectionist threats, as we do. You're going to have Xenos threats as well. Orcs still going to be a menace. Eldar and Dark Eldar, or Eldari and Drukhari, whatever you want to call them, are elusive and can't really be wiped out either. So they're going to still be a threat. Necrons are going to wake up. Tyranids are going to show up in the galaxy. Even Tau can grow to maturity eventually as a species. So all that can still happen because there's a lot of planets out there. It's impossible to keep track of every single one perfectly. Chaos does not have the same big Chaos Legionary threat, though, of course, but they'll still have a Dark Mechanicum. Not that it matters for the purpose of the discussion, but we can always have a Mechanicus sect kind of get seduced to the dark side, if you will. So they'll have that, and that could be their big thing. And we're still going to have Demonic Incursion and problems with the warp and all that. So it's not... It's really is fundamentally a different setting, but at the same time, it's very familiar. So that's what we have to assume for the purposes of this to work, because we need all of the Primarchs to be loyal and around, and the Emperor to be around for their ultimate purpose to be enacted. And that is the best way to do it. It just makes it easier. So that's what we're assuming. Now, with all that said, each Primarch is going to get their own ramble, like I mentioned. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a little intro on them, introduce them, if you will. A quick little bullet point style blurbs about them. Talk about how they are in the standard 40k setting and timeline. And then use that information to extrapolate what their purpose might be. And it's going to be a fun one because the first video I'll be uploading of the Legion's Primarchs is going to be the 20th Legion. And as we know, that has a very interesting Primarch situation. So that'll be a fun one to kick off right off the bat. Anyways, that's basically the idea here. It's a lot to kind of assume, I know, but it's the best way to do it, just because all we're really looking at in this thought experiment, if you will, is Primarchs, their purpose for the Emperor post-Crusade. And we never really truly get to see that because the heresy and all that jazz. So should be a fun little discussion. Of course, share your thoughts about it in the comment section below as well. It's all just complete hypothetical hearsay. None of this is going to have any bearing in any canon style stuff. So try not to get too hung up on the minutia of it and just have some fun. If you want to be further aware of when these come out, as well as any other discussions and series and random rambles, you can always hit that subscribe button. Takes no time, and you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. If you feel it's worth it, go for it. If not, that's totally cool too. Of course, like I mentioned, share your thoughts in the comment section below for the series, as well as just in general. Any other questions, comments, even requests, you can put that in the comment section. And lastly, there is still that poll I have up on the community tab of the channel. So go ahead, visit that, give it a read, and cast your vote for that poll. It'll be up until the 1st of January. Anyways, that's it. So thanks very much for sticking through this longer intro than I intended. It's kind of what I do here. And until next time, take it easy.